'cause I believe that you hear me. As I bow my knees to pray. For the eyes of the Lord are upon us, yes they are.
Over the past 5 years, I have intensely studied a book that my grandfather wrote, originally called Out of the Flame, and it is now called History of the American Indians by James Adair. He lived among the Cherokee and the Chickasaw Nation in the mid-1700s for over 40 years. He was allowed into their ceremonies, he analyzed the way that they lived, and he quickly realized, being a Hebrew scholar and a historian and a biblical scholar, how similar the way that the Chickasaw and Cherokee lived was to the people of ancient Israel. So he documented it in his book, and it is still, available to buy today. So I intensely studied this, and I was not okay with just taking his word for it. So it led me on a path of investigating his claims. So I found myself walking into an exhibit that was called Clans and Chiefs. And it was fully displayed with artifacts and things of the Scott-Irish people, but it was sitting in a Native American Choctaw Cultural Center, and so it kind of caught me off guard, and I learned there is this long history and connection between the Scottish-Irish people and the Chickasaw and Choctaw nations. So in the 1700s, a lot of Scott-Irish descendants were being forced off of their ancestral lands and also being starved out by the British government. Lands that they had been on for thousands of years. And it led me down a path of learning about how both the Chickasaw and the Scottish and Irish people's languages were attacked. There was an effort to persecute them to the extent of making them no longer speak their languages. And the languages held their history, it held their identity, their stories, and that included knowing who they were in relation to their ancestors. But not just that, it also held their belief when it came to their relationship and understanding Creator and God and how they were supposed to live. And they would pass that on to the younger generations. So I found very quickly, with already having the knowledge of the history of the people of Judah, that the very exact same thing happened to them. But what I would uncover after that was just wild, because the word tells us that Israel and the tribes were scattered to the four corners of the earth. And there is a lot of prophetic prediction that one day, after a long time of not basically acting within their priestly duty and knowing their identity and doing what was commanded, that they would again turn back and seek David, their sovereign, So it led me to the realization of the fact that I am just one person in this story. I didn't know my own ancestry. I didn't know where I came from. Just like other people, I fill out a paper and it'll ask you what your race is, then you check the one that you were given at birth. So that's what I would do, just like everybody else. And I didn't know the beauty of the long history of my ancestors, especially over in Scotland and Ireland, that fought to live freely on the land and on this earth. And what I would find is that there was a stone called the Stone of Destiny. And this stone was brought over from Jerusalem to Ireland by the prophet Jeremiah. And he brought it with the female heiress of the Davidic line, meaning she was by blood able to rule on the throne of King David. When I went into the covenant of David, I found out that his throne is forever. And that just because Yeshua of Nazareth came, Jesus of Nazareth, that didn't stop. And the scriptures reveal that when he came, he was giving out the authority to those of his own flesh and blood, of his own family lineage. He was giving them the instructions for how to govern and lead in a time when frauds had infiltrated the government of Judah, and they had cast out the rightful heirs to that responsibility, to the throne of David and the priesthood of Aaron. So when the Roman Catholic Church came along, they hid this knowledge. And every church that has branched off since then has not taught this truth. And simultaneously, you have nations of people and their language and their history that have been preserving that knowledge being attacked to the point where they would no longer remember who they are. And so I asked the question, like, I'm just one person in this story who didn't know my lineage and didn't know my history. How many other people are of Native descent or are of Scot-Irish descent that belong to what the New Testament says, that you are a chosen people and a royal priesthood? How many other people are chosen to govern and lead? And because of indoctrination and assimilation, they don't know it. That's a big deal. And that matters, because if we're given an assignment by the Most High, by our Messiah, and we're supposed to know who we are, and it was robbed from us because of our language being attacked, and it affected our ancestors to the extent of intergenerational trauma being passed down to where we don't know. That's a big deal. So I ask you not to just take my word for it, but to seek out the scriptures for yourself, and you'll find, along with studying history, that what I'm saying is absolutely 100% truth. God bless.
Abba Benili walks in good ways. He reminds us through our ancestors how all this beauty came to be. Me Umakila. This is not the end of the story.